Namaskar, you're watching PME Vidya channels and NCERT's official YouTube channel. This is the time when we bring you the live telecast of Sahyog, in which we talk about mental well-being and mental wellness of our adolescents. And in today's Sahyog, we are going to discuss understanding and attaining emotional maturity by adolescents. So this is the topic of today's discussion. You can also be a part of this live interactive session. If you have any questions or queries, do call us on 8800 is the number of our IVRS helpline. So we have two panelists. Would like to connect with you to them. Professor C.G. Venkatesh Murthy sir from our Regional Institute of Education, Mysuru. Sir, namaskar and a very warm welcome in the session.
Namaskar. Thank you very much.
And also we have Dr. Bharti Kulasekara as a practicing counselor. Dr. Bharti, namaskar and a very warm welcome, ma'am.
Namaste, thank you.
So with these two panelists would like to begin this session. And the very pertinent question arises here that many of us, understand the term maturity very narrowly. The term maturity is something which is really new to a layman. So, Murthy sir, would you please explain the term and the emotional maturity and why it is important to understand, for the adolescents?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ji.
There are about three important terms. One is maturity, the other is emotional maturity, the third one adolescence. See, WHO, World Health Organization, says that the period of adolescence begins with the onset of the puberty, and when the adult identity starts shaping up, that is where the period we call it as the adolescence. From the puberty to the adulthood, we call that as adolescent. Now there is a term maturity and emotional maturity, which are two important. You asked a very right question. Many of us perhaps don't understand this term maturity. Now, if somebody asks you, Rahulji, can 1 year child or 2-year-old child be called matured?
No,
Normally, क्या कहते हैं? नहीं, बहुत छोटा बच्चा है, कैसे mature हो सकता?
Right,
this is the standard answer that we give. Technically, maturity is a developmentally appropriate concept.
Okay.
See, for your particular age, at every stage of development, an individual is expected to behave in a certain way. 1-year-old child is expected to behave in certain ways, which we call them as a normal development. And if it can show all those things, we call that as a mature child, is matured for that age. So there is nothing like it should be more than 15 years, more than 17 years or 18 years to call somebody as a matured. ऐसा नहीं है. Now let us come to this term emotional maturity. What is this emotional maturity? This refers to the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions appropriately to the situation, as well as to empathize and communicate effectively with others. You should be matured. That means your emotional maturity or your emotional levels are such that you are able to express them and use them appropriately to the situation. And when we talk of emotional maturity among adolescents, it means it's the capacity of the adolescents to stabilize their emotions, which include emotional progression, independence, social adjustment, emotional stability, and personal integration. I'll take 1 more minute to elaborate this.
Please.
See, when we talk of emotional maturity among adolescents, it means they are capable of stabilizing their emotions and they are able to grow progressively towards a positive direction in balancing their emotions. They can independently, show different emotions for different situations, and they also show tremendous social adjustment, and they have an emotional stability to deal with situations, and overall there is a personality integration. This we call as emotional maturity put together. It's a whole. Now, why emotional maturity is important for adolescents, and what can it do to adolescents? If you are emotionally matured, you can regulate your own emotions in a healthy way, even in challenging situations.
Okay.
No matter whatever is a challenging situation, you can very beautifully regulate your own emotions.
Right.
Therefore, that is something you need to understand. And these are the people or adolescents who are able to acknowledge their feelings without allowing them to control their own behavior. You know, they can acknowledge, yes, मेरे साथ ये बुरा हो रहा है, मुझे अच्छा फील हो रहा है, मुझे बुरा फील हो रहा है. They are able to acknowledge their feelings. They understand what is happening, and they can also maintain a sense of balance and stability. This is something very important, and many adolescents cannot maintain this. Therefore, they tend to be emotionally immature. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we understand that there are some key components of emotional maturity. One is self-awareness. You should be aware of yourself. You should be honest about your own emotions, your own strengths, your own weaknesses. And these are the people who will be able to identify and understand their own emotional responses and patterns. And they are not scared of asking help. If I need some help, I'll go and ask. That is the kind of a understanding they will have about themselves. They are also empaths. They are able to empathize with others, and they can step into the shoes of a third person and feel what he or she must be feeling. It is not that they are lopsided, they can see only from their side. They can see from others' perspective also. Then they are effective communicators. They can communicate, express their emotions effectively with respect and dignity to others. This is something very important. Many a times एक तरफ हम सोचते रहते हैं, मेरे तरफ से सोचते रहते हैं, दूसरा आदमी भाड़ में जाए.
जी.
We will not be concerned about what happens to the other person. That is
Right.
not what happens to
Right.
the emotionally mature people.
Right.
So now the other key components of emotional immaturity also we will see. Now, somebody who we call as immature, who is that person? He lacks a sense of balance of emotions. He
Right.
doesn't know how much of emotions I have to show for what. It is either overreaction or underreaction to the situation. And पता लग जाता है कि अरे भाई ये बंदा तो बेकार में unnecessarily बहक रहा है.
Right.
We'll be able to say that if somebody is immature. Then they also struggle to manage their emotions. Immature people struggle to manage their emotions in healthy ways. They become overwhelmed by everything, and they tend to show emotions either excessively or underrepresentation of the emotions that is required for the situation. That is an indication of emotional immaturity. And most of these people will be self-centered. They can at best focus on themselves, and they cannot relate themselves to socially in a matured way. So these are some of the basic components of emotionally immature people.
Right.
Now, you asked a question why it is important. So let's quickly move on to the next slide, where I have tried to list out the importance of emotional maturity. Emotionally, adolescents have to be matured because it enhances their self-esteem. The self-respect will go up if they are matured, because other people also will respond to you the way you respond to them. So if you are adequate, if you are capable of dealing with them appropriately, they respect you, your self-esteem goes up. And it also helps an adolescent to respect and gain dignity in society, which is very important. If you are balanced, people will respect you. If you are not balanced, people will not respect you. And it facilitates a healthy development. It helps you to develop yourself into a wonderful human being. And it also lays a good foundation for a healthy transition to adulthood, because from the adolescent stage, next stage one enters is early adulthood. They can be very healthy when they enter the early adulthood, and it also helps in successful development of the present stage, the adolescent stage. And it can also earn you more friends, which is important in adolescence, and makes adolescents happy in life. Therefore, you need to be emotionally matured, my dear young adolescents who are watching. You need to be emotionally matured, because there are so many advantages, and you can make your life wonderful.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for sharing this detailed answer with us, and for all our stakeholders, those who are watching us, thank you very much. So moving ahead, as we understood the meaning and importance of emotional maturity, it is important to understand how it can be attained by the adolescents. So we have Dr. Bharati with us. Madam, would you please explain how our adolescents, students can attain it?
As such, we all know that adolescence itself is a very important developmental stage, and then emotional maturity becomes a crucial aspect of adolescence. And anyway, the adolescent has to attain these skills. So there are many ways how to attain it. Professor Murthy sir gave a very good foundation what exactly emotional maturity and why it is so important. Now we will have to see what are the ways and strategies to attain this. If we take self-awareness, adolescents need to develop self-awareness by reflecting on their emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. For this, initially, they will have to identify and label their emotions accurately. That's very important. And then by regulating their emotional responses appropriately, then only that skill of self-awareness will happen to them. They'll be able to understand what they are, why their emotions are like that. And then very important thing is communication. Many a times adolescents do understand their emotions, do identify their thoughts, but they don't know how to express it, how to put it in words. So it becomes a very important skill. The communication has to happen. Communication skills, something like active listening, assertiveness, and empathy. Everything has to be learned so that adolescent emotional maturity will happen at its best. And the third most important thing is when it comes to problem solving, they need to develop these skills to manage difficult situations and then conflicts effectively. And it includes critical thinking, creative thinking, logical thinking, and analytical thinking. Everything comes under this problem solving skill. And then when we come to coping strategies, we can look at it as adjustment issues. They need to develop healthy coping strategies to come out with adjustment problems which definitely increase their emotional maturity. They need to practice self-care activities like exercise, mindfulness, and relaxation techniques, etc. And then Professor Murthy spoke about empathy. It has to be practiced. It is also an ability, and then definitely it is something. No, understanding other people's perspectives and feelings, and it includes compassion and kindness towards others, and then this has to be developed. Then when it comes to relationship, a positive relationship has to be developed with and peers. Nowadays we know adolescents, not in general, many of them are becoming indifferent towards family, towards the society, towards the nation. So it is a very important ability that has to be developed. Then when it comes to self-esteem, positive self-esteem, which is nothing but self-worth, they need to focus on their strengths and accomplishments and practice self-compassion. In a nutshell, what I would like to say is adolescents who are emotionally mature are better equipped to deal with the challenges and demands of everyday life. And then they're able to handle conflicts and setbacks in a constructive way and more likely to make responsible decisions. They're going to grow into a beautiful adult who's going to lead a happy life. And it is very important to note that emotional maturity is not going to happen overnight. It has to be practiced and it has to be modeled by parents, caregivers, educators, so that we would be able to give them a supportive and nurturing environment. So modeling becomes very important from our side as parents and teachers, educators. So overall, it is a very gradual process that requires consistent effort and practice.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on this, madam. Thank you very much. Moving ahead, as we are discussing emotional maturity, and when we talk about emotional maturity, family comes into picture. So, for all of us, family is a very important, part of our life. But paradoxically, all of us not equally lucky to have supportive and healthy roles in our lives. So, yet we cannot ignore that impact of family in our lives. So, in the life of adolescents, family and parents can take supportive roles which can support in consolidating emotional maturity among adolescents. So we have Murthy sir. So sir, this is a question for you. Do you agree with this statement and what's your take on it?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, let's not forget that all of us in the Indian setup, we are basically interdependents. We depend upon our family in a very big way. family acts as a very big foundation and a cushion for all of us. If this foundation is weak, then this will create problem. Okay?
जी.
Therefore, family acts as a real foundation for all children, all the more in the adolescence, because that is the stage where there are so many confusions, so many questions, so many conflicts, and it is the family which has to absorb all these things and then shape the life of children. And therefore, families' support is a very important thing during adolescence. This is point number one. Now, there are families which can provide you or which are healthy and unhealthy also. There are families where they are broken families, psychologically broken, physically broken families. Psychologically broken is one where parents every day fight on something or the other. Children have nothing good to see in parents, only fights. And they feel tired of
Right.
this kind of a family. That
Right.
can be, very dangerous for the children. Parents have to understand that they should not fight in front of children.
Right.
And there are families, and as you very rightly said, all of us are not equally, blessed to have wonderful families. Though in most situations parents try to do, there are many, many families where parents fight in front of the children and they show their incompatibility. It gives a very poor image to the children, and this will have lots of confusions and tensions. Instead of support, it may do adversely. And at the same time, I also want to say parents play a very crucial role in emotional development of the children. Therefore, responsible and irresponsible parents can influence children differentially. Now, adolescence can be highly emotionally charged time of life. All of us know. When we are physically matured and then when we move up to the adulthood up to 18 years from our physical puberty to that stage, there are lots of confusions, lots of conflicts and then questions, where to go, what to ask, is everything okay with me, not okay with me. So many confusions we will have. Now, these teenagers, adolescents, may not know what is happening. Now, they should be given a chance to discuss. Parents need to support adolescents to talk out their hard feelings, and they should not discourage them. They should reward them for good things and help them to talk. And as a parent, I may have several problems. I should not make my problem bigger than the child's problem. I should provide a quality time to a child, my own child, and try and understand what my child wants at this point of time during the adolescence. This is something very, very important that all of us should do. And next, parents also have other responsibilities. Let us see what are the different ways and means we have where family can help them. So, for example, next slide. If you move on to the next slide, you will find they can create a safe and a supportive environment. Whether a boy or a girl, they need a safe and a supportive environment. What do I mean by supportive environment? When they are not in a good mood, they should be able to understand, appreciate, and talk to them, listen to them, try and understand why they are confused, what is bothering them, etc.
Right.
And the environment in which an adolescent lives must be very safe and secure. If a child feels that my home is a secure place, I think that is the first basic prerequisite where all other things can happen. Then parents need to encourage communication. They should be willing to dialogue with the children, with their own children, and keep talking to them and develop an ambience within a home where children should be willing to come and talk to the family members. They should be willing to talk to parents and then brothers and sisters. They should say that I want to come home and then I want to stay at home. While there are many situations where children say, I do not want to, I want to go and meet my friends, I want to be with them more. That is an indication that all is not well. Though adolescence is a period where they may want to spend more time with their friends, they should also take pride in being a fact that they belong to such a family, such a parents. So they want to spend good time with them, quality time with them, and that is an acid test for parents to know whether the family dynamics is supportive or not supportive. It is ideal that parents create such an environment and encourage communication among children and also teach problem solving skills. Problems need to be understood and handled, and there are many problems which can be solved, and some problems you will have to learn to manage. These things parents should teach the children. This is where parents and family can help their children to develop emotional maturity. In a situation like this, what should you do? How to do that? Discuss with them. Tell them, do you think this can work in your situation? Shall we try and do this? We are with you.
Right.
If you keep on telling them, child, मेरे बच्चे मैं आपके साथ हूँ,
Right.
घबराना नहीं, डरना नहीं, इतना कहने से बच्चे को बहुत सुकून मिलता है, and child feels that I am safe and secure.
Agreed.
And they should also model healthy emotional behavior. Parents themselves have to give and demonstrate what it means to have healthy emotional behavior with children. How do you talk to them? How do you address children? How do you help them to understand different emotional situations? They are all very important. And if parents can model healthy emotional behavior, that is a wonderful source for children to learn.
Ji.
Because many of the wrong things we learn from our own parents and our own
Right.
community.
Right, sir.
Isn't it?
Right, sir.
Therefore, parents have a very important role. And parents can encourage children to develop empathy and compassion. ये बाहर से नहीं आता. If you see those children who are empathetic, who have empathy towards others, invariably their parents will also be showing the empathy. So it comes from the home. Compassion comes from the parents. So as the parents give them the models, children emulate those qualities from the parents. Very important. Therefore, parents have to be a role model, and they should also encourage children to be independent in handling their own problems. एक प्रॉब्लम ये भी होता है, बहुत सारे माँ बाप क्या करते हैं, बच्चों को प्रॉब्लम्स वो खुद सॉल्व
खुद,
करने
जी
देते
जी,
हैं.
राइट सर.
ऐसे थोड़ी होता है.
Right.
So you should allow child to experience, and it should be able to handle its own problems.
Right.
Only then it can be independent. And your parents have to encourage children to be independent, and they should provide opportunities where they can solve their own emotional problems. These occasions, opportunities help children to develop emotional maturity.
Right.
Right?
Agreed,
आप
agreed,
मानोगे ये बात सही है?
Agreed,
जो
sir.
मैं कह रहा हूँ?
बिल्कुल अग्रीड. हम ये देखते हैं आज, अगर हम जानते हैं किसी स्कूल में अगर पीटीएम है या कुछ होने जा रहा है, तो माँ बाप जो है अपने बच्चों का प्रॉब्लम खुद सॉल्व करने पहुंच जाते हैं, एंड दे आर नॉट अलाउ देयर चिल्ड्रन टू लर्न फ्रॉम द सिचुएशन, फ्रॉम द एक्सपीरियंस, विच इज़ वेरी वेरी बैड थिंग. आई थिंक उनको भी एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए. दे हैव टू फेस द एंटायर वर्ल्ड अलोन आफ्टर सम टाइम, सो दे हैव टू बी रेडी फॉर इट. तो आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर शेयरिंग दीज डीप डिटेल्स रिगार्डिंग दिस इमोशनल, इतना इम्पोर्टेंट जो है, जो मेच्योरिटी का जो कंसर्न है. सो मूविंग अहेड, सर, शैल वी प्रोसीड फॉर द नेक्स्ट
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. So this is our next slide, and we'll discuss about this with Bharti ma'am, as we are discussing this family matter very importantly. So the question is, along with family and parents, teachers and friends also play a major role in the development of adolescents. So no matter whether parents and families are there to support adolescents or not, it is for sure that teachers and friends are there. So Bharti ma'am, would you please share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you. See, it's very true that teachers and parents also play a very important role in emotional development in an adolescent, especially adolescent maturity. And there are certain ways so that we can encourage as teachers and friends. One is accepting the adolescent, accept them the way they are, because each adolescent is unique, and if he or she deserves attention, it has to be given. That is how we are going to support. And then next, this emotional support that is given by friends and teachers can provide, during challenging times, helping them to feel heard and understood. This can be crucial for developing emotional resilience and coping skills in them. And then, just like parents, even teachers and friends can become role models. Teachers and older friends can serve as positive role models for adolescents, showing them how to manage their emotions and handle difficult situations effectively. Children learn a lot from their friends, the way the situation is being faced. And then feedback and guidance. Friends and teachers can provide feedback and guidance on how adolescents express their emotions, helping them to learn healthy and appropriate ways to communicate their feelings. And the next most important thing is social learning. They learn a lot, from social environment, social situations, social skills through their interactions with peers and teachers. Most of the time, we send the children to school and colleges for socialization purpose more than the learning. So these interactions provide opportunities for practicing communication, empathy, and conflict resolution. That's going to happen. And then the adolescent values will have to be validated by teachers and friends. See, we all know for adolescents, whatever the teachers say or the friends say are holy words. So this in turn can lead to a greater emotional maturity and self-awareness. And overall, I would like to say that the support, guidance, and positive influence of friends and teachers can be very critical in helping adolescents develop emotional maturity and resilience. It is very important.
Right, right. Thank you very much. And I'm sure this session, will help all our stakeholders. So this is the time of wrap up. So Murthy sir, would you please summarize today's session for our adolescents, especially those who are watching us?
Thank you very much. There was some technical problem at my end also.
Okay.
Anyway, to sum it up in one or two sentences,
Ji.
it is very important that our adolescents should get a chance to understand that they have an opportunity to grow into emotionally matured adolescents. For that, it is the responsibility of the adolescents themselves, it is the responsibility of the parents, and responsibility of the family members, teachers, and friends. Because the whole process of our socialization is to get influenced by all agencies such as the family, the home, the school, the friends, the teachers, and the people that we come across. All of us have a responsibility to help our younger ones to shape into wonderful human beings. Therefore, it is possible that if we can behave well with our adolescents, they can turn out to be emotionally mature.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Agreed, sir. Thank you very much for this wonderful session to bring here, and I'm sure our adolescents will be benefited, from this session. So, Murthy sir, thank you very much for your time, for joining us with this wonderful topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And also, we would like to thank Dr. Bharti madam. Madam, thank you very much for sharing your deep thoughts and your homework with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, would like to conclude this session of Sahyog with the message of G20. We are proud that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leader Summit for the first time in the country in 2023. A nation deeply committed to the democracy and multilateralism, India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in the history as it seeks to play an important role by finding the pragmatic global solutions for the well-being of all. And in doing so, manifest the true spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. With this positive note, would like to conclude this session of Sahyog. Stay tuned with eVidya channels and NCERT's official YouTube channel. फिलहाल मुझे और मेरी पूरी टीम को दीजिए इजाजत. नमस्कार.